the hospital in West Burlington, as well as an adjunct EMS instructor at Southeastern Community College. I've been involved in fire and EMS for about almost 9 years now. So what does EMS actually stand for? EMS stands for Emergency Medical Services. EMS in America can be tracked back all the way to the Civil War era. In 1865, this was when the first civilian ambulance was established in Cincinnati, Ohio. Surprisingly, it wasn't New York. New York wants to be the first at everything. But New York wasn't too far behind, starting their own civilian ambulance in 1869. If you were to fast forward to the 1950s, most of the ambulances were actually hearses, surprisingly. They would go to someone who was very sick, and it went one of two ways. They were either going to the funeral home, or they were able to take care of them and take them to the hospital. At this point in time, the ambulances were not regulated whatsoever. It was kind of interesting that in this time, they would have surgeons on these hearse ambulances. In the 1960s, EMS became more regulated by the states in which they resided in. And then in the 1970s, the National Registry of Emergency Medical Technicians was formed. So there's different levels within EMS. You don't think just because you're getting an EMS, you have to go to the very top. You have to work like McIntyre did. You have to get to that critical care flight paramedic level. You can be an emergency medical responder. This is what a lot of volunteers have in our area. We have a lot of fire departments that are volunteer. That are made up of volunteers. And this is commonly their certification that they'll have if they don't want to be too involved in the EMS. Shut that, I got a loud voice and I know I do. I know it, yeah. I own up to it. It's a good thing sometimes to have. You can really control the room. So an emergency medical technician, this is what we call an EMTB. You'll hear me refer to, you may hear me refer to levels like BLS or ALS. BLS is basic life support and ALS is advanced life support. So this is the bare minimum requirement to work on a career or paid ambulance service. This person is what we consider BLS. Then we have the advanced emergency medical technician. Hear that advanced word? Think they're involved in ALS? That's where ALS starts. This isn't too often that you'll see these providers exist anymore. You either stick with EMT or you're going to go just straight up to the paramedic level. I don't mean to say the word waste, but if you're going to go to become a paramedic, you're just spending another semester in college just to start your paramedic schooling. So it just makes sense to skip it. You're going to learn the same stuff. And then the top is the paramedic within EMS. So you can add an endorsement to your license that is called the critical care paramedic endorsement. I'll talk a little bit about some procedures you can do. Anybody, it was Miss Zip, right? Anybody in Miss Zip's like healthcare professionals thing or planning to take it? Yeah? Okay, so you'll see me next time, or next trimester. I don't know how you guys do it. Yeah, okay. I was unable to bring the equipment to do it today because they were actually using it for training, but I wanted to show you something that a paramedic could do and allow you all the opportunity to do it. So when it comes to EMTs, you can do, any of these can do CPR. There are certain airways, and when I say airway, when somebody's not breathing, we insert a tube, and one is just very standard. You set it in, and you inflate it, and it has cuffs, bulbs, that fill up and it seats in its proper spot, just with those bulbs. That's what an EMT and an advanced EMT can do. But when you get into the paramedic, that's when we can do what's called intubation, and that's where I take that's called a laryngoscope. It looks pretty gnarly, but I promise it's not that bad. It's a handle and it has a blade that comes out. It's not sharp or nothing, and I stick it in someone's mouth and I pick up their mouth with it, And is anybody taking an anatomy class? Okay. When we eat, we obviously don't want food going in our lungs, right? So we have a flap that goes down on our trachea whenever we eat or swallow, because there's two pipes, right? One for the food to go in and one for the air to go in. And that flap covers the first one. So this laryngoscope, I go in and I can directly manipulate that flap, what we call the epiglottis, and I lift it up. And I will see your vocal cords. It's two white lines. If this is the trachea, there's two white lines right here and here. And that's my vocal cords. And I guide that tube right in there. And that's an advanced airway. Pretty interesting procedure to do. But then if you get into the critical care paramedic endorsement, that's where it gets real wild and real fun. Haven't done it. I don't want to do it. I've done them on cadavers up in labs where people have donated their bodies to science. So that was really interesting to do. It's called a surgical cricothyrotomy. We also do needle cricothyrotomies. That's where, right here, let's all feel our Adam's apple. You're going to feel a notch right in here. It's going to feel like you have two bumps and you're going to feel right in there. That is our landmark that we aim for. For the needle, we just put a needle in there and it has a plastic catheter over it. I just slide that catheter off and that's an airway. Or we can go as far as, we've all seen them in the movies somewhere, I'm sure, where we take a rusty pocket knife, soak it in vodka, and make a cut and put a straw in. That's essentially what we get to do, but with a lot cleaner and sterile equipment. That's a pretty bad last-ditch effort case if, say, somebody's anatomy is all messed up and I can't insert my laryngoscope. That's what I go to, and that's in the helicopter. So, places you can work in EMS. I think I might surprise a couple of you with where you can work. So you can work on ground ambulances, you can work in specialized ambulances, in hospital settings, fire departments, and air medical transport. While these are just a few examples it's being found that EMS providers can work in a lot of different settings. Anybody want to go be a nurse? I know I got one. No? All right, well maybe I can convince a couple of you to become paramedics by the end of this. We're the same, I feel we're the same level as nurses, except the difference is they're an in-hospital setting and we're pre-hospital. So we're trained the same things, our scope of practices are the same for the most part. When you think of a ground ambulance, you typically think of 911 ambulances. A couple examples are there's interfacility ground ambulances, specialty ambulances. Some examples of these would be the Superior Ambulance Service at Southeastern Iowa Regional Medical Center, West Burlington campus. They have their own ambulances, and when I say interfacility, that's if we bring somebody here to this hospital that's way too sick for this hospital to handle. Guess who gets tasked with taking that patient that's too sick for this hospital and this staff at that hospital and taking them up to the University of Iowa or to Des Moines or over to Peoria? They do. I do, right? A couple examples of specialty ground ambulances could be a neonatal ground ambulance, a children's hospital ambulance, mobile stroke units, or even a mobile ECMO unit, and I'll tell you what all of those are. So when we think 911, this is it for where we're at here in Burlington. We're very fortunate to have such nice equipment. This is a very nice ambulance. All of them are now. And with these nice ambulances, we can provide excellent patient care. This is what the back of it looks like. I've been in some ambulances. I'm not saying I'm the tallest man on the planet, but I am tall at 6'3", and I would always bang my head on the rooftops, or I'd have to sit like this and work. I can stand up in this. It's fantastic. Next thing is going to be, this is what we call a sprinter ambulance. These are mainly used for interfacility transfers. They go across highways, they ride really smooth, but it's kind of limited in the back, right? It's a little cramped. Next is going to be the mobile stroke unit. To diagnose strokes, they use CAT scans. Anybody ever had a CAT or a CT scan? Yeah, that big donut thing, right? And you just slide in and back out of it. That's it. You got a question, or are you just like, yeah, I was in one?
I had to take a lot when I was younger, and my doctor said, you have to be really still in them, and my doctor said that if I moved, a shark would come in and eat me.
That's one I would sit still with that. I would. So this is kind of a new thing, and you see this in a lot of heavily populated areas. I have a friend that I used to work with here at the fire department. He's down in Baytown, Texas. This is a suburb of Houston, and they have a couple of these. And what's really cool about it is this is a regular ambulance, but guys, CT machines are so expensive. We're talking 6 figures easily. I don't even know if it's in the 7 figures. I'm not quite sure. But back in this ambulance is a CT machine that slides up on these tracks, and it will scan the patient's head. When somebody's having a stroke, we have to give them a specialized drug that will bust up that clot. Because if not, that part of that brain isn't going to get oxygenated blood, and that part will die. So they can scan it, they can say, yep, this guy's having a stroke, or this gal's having a stroke, and they administer that medication. Next is the Children's Hospital Ambulance. This is the University of Minnesota. This is their Children's Hospital transport. They are a level 1 pediatric trauma center. This is the best of the best. I actually got to see this ambulance at a convention. I was able to find the photo of what I thought was so cool about it. There's a big bumper, and I talked to the guy that was driving it one time. He's a paramedic. He said he smoked a deer on the highway, and they had a really sick kid, and he said that bumper did so great, he just kept driving. He stopped, he was like, eh, and then he just kept going. Took it like a champ. I don't know if we can all see this. That's the roof of that ambulance in there. So kids are, it's a scary thing. They have a starlit ceiling in it. Kind of neat if you ask me. Ooh, I'm going to do that so we can see better. I like that. So when I said neonatal transport, these are premature babies that have been delivered. This is what's called an isolette. The child will sit up in here, and it's a super warm, I don't know what you want to call it. They sit in it, and it's really warm. That's one thing with babies is we've got to keep them warm. Then we have a cardiac monitor. There's another monitor there. Does this work? This is the ventilator. So if we have to insert that breathing tube I was talking about, we put the settings on there, and it breathes at whatever rate I want. Of course, there has to be some medications administered in order to do that. And I can talk a bit about that. ECMO. ECMO is for some super, super, super sick people. Because what ECMO is they go in, this is somebody that's usually in cardiac arrest or has had a heart attack. And what they do is they come in, and it's called cannulation. They come in and they cannulate the heart. And what it does is it runs the blood out of the body into a machine. And this machine will oxygenate that blood and pump forth. Sorry, they don't cannulate the heart, they cannulate above and below. That's what I meant to say. So this makes it so your heart doesn't have to work or your lungs. It gives it time to heal, but it's still getting oxygenated. We don't see a lot of these around here. This is, again, an up-and-coming thing, just like mobile stroke units are. Thinking about it? Oh, wait. Yep. All right. So, obviously I have more experience as a firefighter and a paramedic, a 911 paramedic. And with my full-time job, I want to talk a little bit about the fire department. Maybe get a couple of you guys and gals interested in it. There'll be more discussions on the fire side come Monday. I've got firefighter Hillary Beard to come give a presentation over that. Hillary is a wonderful firefighter, probably one of the best ones we've got, and we're so lucky to have her. The Burlington Fire Department was established in 1841. Right now we have a total of 3 stations. Station 1 is downtown. Station 2 is our airport station. That's where I'm primarily stationed at now. And then Station 3 is it's technically Burlington, but everybody just says West Burlington because it's over there. But, I don't know if anybody's followed the news or not, we just got it passed for the city to take out a rather large loan to build a 3rd fire station, which we desperately need because the one we're in now is actually smaller than this. I bet if we take where these cables go, if we put a line here and this back, That station is smaller than this room you have here. Not comfortable. We're walking all over one another. You have a marker? Whiteboard? Oh, thank you. I'm going to talk a bit about our schedule. So we work 24 hours on, and then we get 48 hours off. 24 hours is a day, right? Okay. I work for third shift. It's not your standard third shift, 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7. Think of it as days. If there's 24 hours on and 48 hours off, that's 3 days. 1, 2, 3. So I belong to the third day shift. I'm going to talk about how great we've got it there. So shift 1, 2, wow, that was really bad. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we'll get into the benefits and time off going on down the road, but just remember that's how that goes. I work for shift 3. We have a maximum of 15 people on shift, and we will only drop down to 11 people at a minimum. We cover calls for Des Moines County and provide ALS service, remember the paramedic level services, into Henderson County, Illinois. We provide the fire protection to the citizens of Burlington and the Quad Townships that are north and south of town. In addition to that, we love being able to lend a helping hand to our other communities, West Burlington, Danville, Mediapolis. We'll go to Illinois. You need us, you call us, we love to go and help. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about some things that we got going for us at the Burlington Fire Department. Brand new Station 3 coming soon. Really excited about that. If you go to our Facebook page, you'll see a little rendering of it. It's really interesting. We have very nice equipment with more in the works. Remember I talked about that ambulance and having some headroom? Great team dynamics. I'm not going to lie to you. Who's sports? Play sports, anybody? Love that team dynamic, right? I have that there, and I love it. I have obviously my blood family. I have my fire family, and it's fantastic. Well, I just got done having lunch with my whole family yesterday, my fire family. We get to hang around, tell jokes. I'm sure it's very similar as to the police department, as Mr. Carper could speak on. And it's fantastic. Opportunities for advancement. I am 28 years old, and I'm already in an officer's position as a lieutenant. So I can only grow from there, and that's awesome. I get more responsibility. I get to come and speak to you guys. Great schedule, if you ask me. Okay, I'm going back to the days 1, 2, 3, shift 1, 2, 3. And it's going to kind of tie into great paid time off, comp time, and paid sick leave. So the standard work week is 40 hours a week. If we do 24 48s, 24 hours on, 48 hours off, we go into overtime every week. So instead of paying us overtime every week, they give us what's called a comp day. So comp days are the same as vacation days. Just remember that. I get 15 comp/vacation days. I get 10 comp days a year and 5 vacation days. So if I take one day, I want to take that third shift off. I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row off of work. Mr. Carper, could you do a great and fun vacation in 5 days?
Oh, very much so.
I can take 15 great, super fun vacations if I so choose to. Would you guys like to take 15 vacations? Sounds pretty swell if you ask me. Another good thing we do is we trade a lot. What's your name, ma'am?
Mia.
Mia? Perfect. Mia is the newest employee at the Burlington Fire Department, and Mia's just, McIntyre, I really don't want to work this day. I want to go see, I want to go see Taylor Swift in concert for you. She probably does. Huh?
It says Swifty.
Okay. So she'll be like, McIntyre, can you work for me? I say, yes, Mia, absolutely, I'll work for you. So the cool thing about that is I'll work her shift. Granted, that'll put me in working 48 hours straight, which isn't that bad. It sounds bad, but it's not. I worked 120 hours straight one time. Still wasn't that bad. But she's still going to get paid for that shift. You're still going to collect a paycheck off of that shift, but you'll just owe me. So that's really nice. With my 15 days off, that's a month and a half worth of time off. I also had enough people work for me for an entire month. I took 2.5 months off of work one time. fantastic to be an adult and have a summer break.
I get that.
Yeah. Amazing benefits, we'll talk more about it later, and an amazing retirement. These things probably don't concern you right now, but if you ask Mr. Carper, you will care about this someday. Yep.
Very much so.
Yes. So, other places EMTs and paramedics could work. Just because you're an EMT or a paramedic doesn't mean an ambulance or the Burlington Fire Department is the only place you can work. These next slides will show you some interesting options. There aren't as many of these options, but they're still out there if you work hard for them. Examples would be an in-hospital, an air medical transport, private ambulances, overseas work. I've known people, especially when the stuff in Ukraine was starting to kick off, they were offering contracts into the 6 figures for paramedics just to go over there. Granted, you're going to a war zone, but it's an option if that trips your trigger, I suppose. Offshore. Offshore, there's people that go and work on oil rigs. I know one of my pilots that flies for me at Medforce, flies me, not flies for me, he flies me. He talked about taking paramedics down in the Gulf, and he would fly them out there for their month on the oil rig and bring them back for their month. And then community paramedicine, this is coming around. This is pretty important. This is so if Mia can't go to the hospital, I don't know why I'm going to pick on you, but I'm going to pick on you, so forgive me. Mia, she's got a disability of some sort, and she can't go to the doctor's appointments. I, as a community paramedic, will come to you and do whatever assessment the doctor asks me to do. He's on this iPad here, and I will provide any treatments he tells me to do. So it kind of saves you from having to go out to the hospital if you have a pretty severe disability. All right, in-hospital work you can do. I'm gonna walk back here for a second. This is something I actually got to do prior to starting my career in pre-hospital paramedicine. Was I got to work in an X-ray department with a radiologist, and I got to do biopsies. Does anybody know what a biopsy is?
It's where you look inside the body, like you cut it open and look inside.
Kind of, yeah, you're kind of on the point. So what we would do here is under a CT machine is we would go in and we would insert a needle. Say he's got a weird spot on his X-ray right here. You don't mind I poke it, do you? We would go in with a needle here, and then that machine would tell us how deep we are, and when we're in that point, we would snap a piece of tissue and pull it out, and they would examine it to
That's
see
got
like,
an interesting spot on my X-ray.
oh, I bet that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeet. And then we would be able to tell like if something's cancerous or not, or something of concern. That was really cool. The paramedic's job in there was to make sure our patients were comfortable. I would sedate my patients if I needed to. I would give pain management if they need to. You'll hear the words fentanyl or morphine. That's something you can give as a paramedic. Next thing you could do, if I turn the volume, the flipper back on. The fire truck. This would be so cool for me if I didn't already get promoted. If I could go to a place where I don't have to be on an ambulance all the time, but I can go and do the fun paramedic stuff, and then just say, hey, Mia's on the ambulance, right? Hey, Mia, you write the report. I just gotta do the fun stuff. That's what these guys and gals get to do. My buddy down in Baytown, Texas, that's what he gets to do. He actually is on a truck just like this. This is called the tiller truck, and that's where the tillerman sits. And his whole job is to steer this trailer. So that has a steering axle, so it can move around tight corners. This is the longest fire truck you'll see in the fire service, but it is the easiest one to maneuver around. Those come in at a price tag right now. I think they were 1.4 million a couple years ago when we had a tour, a demo come through. We're gonna need a new ladder truck soon, but we'll never see one of these here. We don't need this big. Another thing you can do is you can work in, it's called a support vehicle. There's some cities, bigger cities, that have a lot of these. And they send a BLS crew, a basic life support crew, and then if they're like, they get there and like, whoa, I need a paramedic for this. That paramedic will come in his SUV, his or her SUV, I'm sorry, I'm really bad at that, and will assist that ambulance. Okay, air medical. I put a lot in here. Air medical transport, I think in my mind, is the pinnacle of EMS. You gotta really work hard at this to get here. I had to work a second job in EMS, some grueling hours working overnights, but I got to where I'm at now and I love it and I don't regret it one bit. So this is when we take a person by air. There's two ways. There's fixed wing or there's rotary wing. Haven't had any experience in fixed wing, so I can't comment a whole lot, but I can comment just a little. Because I've met fixed wing to transfer a patient back home. Prime examples of these is if somebody's super sick and they need to move all the way across the country. If, say for example, I have just a pretty nasty accident when I'm hiking in Colorado, but I want to be closer back to my family and it's safe to move me back here. They'll load me on an airplane, a specialized airplane, and fly me back here to an airport, and then a ground ambulance will take me to wherever I have to go. That's what I did. They can fly in worse weather conditions than a rotary wing aircraft can, some of them. We're pretty fortunate here in Burlington and West Burlington, and I'll talk a bit about ours. This is an example of a fixed wing. It's an airplane. They're specialized in their own way. They have that hatch that opens up and a lift that will slide this patient up in it. The screen's at an angle, it's throwing me off. This is what the inside of a fixed wing air medical transport unit looks like. How am I doing on time? Oh, plenty good.
Yeah.
I can even slow down. Anybody got any questions at this point? Yeah, what's up?
How'd you get into your career?
I'll talk about that at the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait.
Anybody else? Come on, you guys gotta have more by the end. Yeah.
Which field are you in? Like what?
So, you came in late, which is fine. Currently I'm a full-time lieutenant with the Burlington Fire Department. I started out as a firefighter, paramedic, and then part-time I work for MedForce, air medical transport, the helicopter out at the hospital, and then I teach the EMS classes at Southeastern Community College as well. Part-time, not like the whole thing, that would be way too much. Yes, ma'am?
What do you mean, Lieutenant? Like, what are your responsibilities?
So we all start out as firefighters, whether that be a firefighter EMT or a firefighter paramedic. You have to have your paramedic by your third year. And then the ranking system, it goes lieutenant, captain, battalion chief, fire marshal, then deputy chief, then the actual chief. So as a lieutenant, my responsibility is if I go on a scene and you're on the ambulance and this is my engine crew, and we have a lot, we're working on a car accident scene. I am the one that makes the decisions, okay, we're gonna do this. It's my job to make sure that we're all safe, what we're doing is safe. Prime example in the roadway, I should be the one looking out for your back, making sure there's not cars that are gonna come up and hit you. If I need other resources, that's my job to call for them. Basically, I'm an incident commander in certain incidents that requires more than one unit. Like I said, I'm out at the airport station primarily. I'm in charge of that crew, I'm in charge of that station. I make sure that all of the station work is done, our trucks are checked. I'm in charge of some trainings as well, kind of like what I'm doing today. I actually really enjoy going out in the community and talking to you nice folks. So I like getting offers to do that. Mr. Carper reached out to our chief, and I quickly said yes, I would love to do that. So that's some of the perks and responsibilities as a lieutenant. Yes, sir.
How much schooling after high school did you need?
I have that in the presentation. I'll get to it. Man, I'm getting on. Yes, ma'am.
What was the hiring process?
It's a good one. I like that. And I didn't have that in here. And Hillary might talk about it, but I'll cover it now. So the hiring process is you apply for it. You can be 18 years old. You do not have to have anything. You have to have one thing, two things. A driver's license, and you have to have a high school diploma or a GED. Now obviously it's preferred to have your EMT, your paramedic, firefighting experience, but I'll be honest with you, in previous years, we've skipped people that have had all this experience just because they weren't a good, when I say they weren't a good person, they I'm sure they mean well, but they just weren't super wowing and respectful, and we want good people at our fire department. I would rather work with you not having any experience it takes about 2 years to get up to where you can just relax if you want to, or you can continue on like I did and recommend doing. I'd rather work with that person with no experience, and I'll do all the work for 2 years to have a good quality person than some jerk. You apply, you go and do a physical agility test. It's on our YouTube page. It goes through what that test exactly is.
Actually, the video I'll play next week.
Thank you. Yeah, I edited that. You gotta tell me how my editing skills are. They're a little Then you go and do a written test, and it is nothing firefighter related. Is what it is. It's just a general knowledge stuff. And then from there you do an interview, and then you get placed on a list. And once you're on that list, if the chief has 10 people, we're gonna use Mia again. Wow, Mia was just really good on her interview. She rocked the physical agility test, and she had a really good test score on her general knowledge test. He'll go to that list, and he picks a couple people that wowed him. Mia was one of them, and then he'll give me a call and say, hey, I'd like for you to come in and talk to me. And usually it's like, hey, how's it going? How's life been? That's how mine was. And he's like, hey, you still want that job?
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. And then you start what we call the probationary year, which Hillary will cover that, I know. We send people to Academy, Fire Academy. That's over in Champaign, Illinois. Illinois Fire Service Institute is what our current practice is. If you don't have any of your EMS classes, guess what? Pay for you to go do it. You'll go to Southeastern Community College. You will be locked into a contract for a little bit. Not locked in. I don't mean to say locked in. You can pay out of it, but honestly, I would rather stay and just work over my contract. Yes?
Why did you get into this career?
I'll talk about it at the end.
Okay.
He already said that.
Yeah. All right, we're going to continue on. We're not going to answer all the questions at once. I hear you. You got to do so many questions. So, rotary wing. This I do know quite a bit about in comparison. These are going to be your helicopters. There are many different types, brands, and sizes of helicopters. We're pretty fortunate to have multiple helicopters in our area. We have Medforce Air Medical Transport here at Southeastern, the hospital. I'm not going to do that. We have Air Evac, which is down at the Fort Madison Hospital. The cool thing about it is there are multiple helicopters in these programs. Medforce has one here. Medforce has one in Kelowna, Illinois, which is about a 20-minute flight down here. We have one, Air Evac has one in Fort Madison, Quincy, Macomb, Springfield, not Springfield. They have them all over. And the cool thing about Air Evac is once you're trained and you have your wings, so they call it, you can pick up a shift at any base all across the country because all of the helicopters are set up the same. So this one gal I know, she's a flight nurse. She will work her shifts here, and then she will go down to visit her mother because she does 1 week on and 1 week off, where they go day on, day off, day on, day off. They do that for a whole week, and then they get a whole week off. She goes down to Texas to visit her mother, and they have an Air Evac base down there, and she picks up a shift or two there where her mom works. It's kind of cool. Medforce does 12 or 24-hour shifts. Pretty convenient. I usually do, if I am working this day and I have to do a 24 at Medforce, it's going to be this next day. So I'll do 48 hours, have 24 hours off, and then go back into BFD. I don't do that a whole lot. I try not to. Or I'll have this day off, and I'll do the day shift 12 hours from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and then I have the night off before I go into work. Do you have to work that much if you're employed with the fire department? Not at all. I do it because I love it. I want to make that very clear. You don't have to work that much to be set financially with benefits. You can get that all through just simply working at the fire department. With this company, I don't take care of just the minor things. You have to be super sick to go in a helicopter, or you have to be super injured. I could get into the big war stories if you want. I've had patients that their heart is going really bad, and I have pumps, what is called a balloon pump. It goes in through the groin, into the aorta, and it comes up and it sits just outside of the heart, and it's a balloon that inflates and deflates on a certain cycle to basically ease the workload of the heart. Ventilated patients, I take care of those. I'll give one little gruesome story, and that's it. Most recent, really nasty one, I'll give two. I went down to a meat factory where somebody has cut all their fingers off. I had to collect the fingers, and then we flew them down to St. Louis, where there's a hand surgeon to reattach all of them. And then the next one was a gentleman was on a construction site. He slipped and fell. You all know what a ball hitch is? And it impaled his eye, and so we had to fly him to an eye surgeon. Unsure how that one turned out, though.
So you say you literally have
Like, he met a lot more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Giant 2.5-inch ball, right
At
there.
least you could get the first guy a hand.
Huh?
At least you could get the first guy a hand.
Yeah.
a, nice you gave the other guy a hand also.
Huh?
It was nice you gave the other guy a hand also.
I see what you did there. Yeah.
Were those here in Burlington?
No. The hand one was in Fort Madison, and the ball hitch in the eye was in Keokuk. It takes us like 5 minutes to fly to Fort Madison. And then from here to fly down to St. Louis. Does anybody know how long it would take to drive down to St. Louis?
Like 3 hours. Like 3 or 4 hours.
2.5, 3 hours? That's 1 hour flight. What's up? Yeah. Takes us an hour to fly down to St. Louis. That's pretty fast for a top-of-the-line specialty facility. To work for MedForce, they require that you have your paramedic, your CCP endorsement. In addition to the certification endorsement, they also require 5 years of experience in 911, EMS, or a critical care transport. I luckily was able to cheat the system because I was doing both at the same time. So they took me at 4 years. So, I'm not gonna lie, while you have to put a lot of work in to get in these positions, there are aeromedical transport units all over the country. It's not specific to Iowa. You can go work, a gal that used to work for our program, she's now in Utah. She's in Utah. And what she gets to do is way cooler than what I get to do. She gets hooked into a harness and they lower her down from the helicopter into like the mountainous areas, and she has to hike to wherever these patients are, treat them, and then they lower the basket and she loads them up and lifts them out. Pretty cool. There's that option. There's companies like that fly all around in New York. They fly all over. You can go work for fire departments that have helicopters. You got to be a really big department to purchase a helicopter. The one I'm about to show you comes in at $8 million. So that is what we have here at MedForce. These are called Eurocopter 135s or EC 135s. This is the newest model. In the beginning, really there were only about 10 of them in the country, and my program has 2 of them. Top of the line everything, avionics, everything. And then, he had to pay for it, the owner did. When I say top, this is what it's like in the back. Excuse my my legs in this photo, I suppose. But yeah, not a lot of room for a guy like me. And my patients and I, we get pretty close. I'm like right here with them, my A. But we make it work.
Is there a patient in that bag?
No. Yeah, no, we bag them before we go. No, this is our standard like loadout, I guess we call it. Is we would put our medical supplies in here. This has everything I would possibly need. My intubation equipment, drugs to say you are breathing. Remember that breathing tube that I was talking about? Say you're still breathing and I need to what we call take your airway from you. We get to do a procedure called rapid sequence intubation. Sounds pretty scary. I promise we don't do it on just anybody because we want to do it for funsies. It's when I will sedate you to where you are asleep, you won't remember any of this, and then I administer what's called a paralytic. The paralytic will then paralyze you, right? You won't be able to breathe or nothing like that. And then there's a cardiac monitor on there as well, that we can monitor your vital signs and everything. I spooked you, didn't I?
That's where you just keep the body spread.
Yeah. So after that point, once we sedate you and paralyze you, I will insert that breathing tube, and then that's where the ventilator will take control from there. When I said top line avionics, this is it. Super nice. There are, right here, these two screens allow us to do, remember when I said bad weather conditions? There's two different forms of flight rules. There's visual flight rules, where I must be able to see where I'm going. You have to have 2 miles distance visibility, and then you have to have what we call the ceiling, which is the cloud height. That's at, like I said, anywhere from 600 to 800 feet. And then if it's lower than that, or the visibility is less than that, and say it's like 1.25 miles, we can do what's called instrument flight rules. It is where we use all of this technology and we plug it in to the helicopter and it flies for us. This has autopilot. It'll fly through the clouds. We have specialized clearance through air traffic controllers, and they make sure everybody stays away from us. When we have a patient, it's called medevac status. They don't come, we have priority over everybody. If Mr. Carter decides to rent out a private jet, I should have been a police officer. Sorry, Mr. Carper, I know you want to get to the Bahamas on time, but you're going to have to go around because this helicopter has priority.
Yeah.
I threw a couple cool videos in there of them. I'm sure we may or may not have seen some helicopters landing. But our pilots are really, really experienced. They have to come to us with a minimum, I want to say, of 3,000 flight hours logged. So a lot of these guys and gals, they come from the military. They do tours. They instruct a bunch. That's pretty interesting. That was at the Touch a Truck, I think is what it's called. They host out there at the mall. Another thing we do, I don't know if Mr. Carper participated in Boots versus Badges or not. I'm sure he hit some homers. This is us flying in to drop the game ball off. I was not employed at this point, but we've got a lot of really great pilots. Honestly, there's some pretty scary weather conditions that we'll fly in. But I feel so comfortable and have complete and total trust in those pilots.
Those blades are going really slow.
Huh?
Those blades are going really slow.
It's gonna fall. Shut up.
How does it fly with such slow blades?
While they land, I'll move mine.
Like it yourself, it's going.
Weird blue screen.
I could probably cut this back next time. It's extremely loud, as you can imagine. But interesting thing about it, not interesting, it's kind of a bummer for the paramedic, I won't lie, is we do what's called hot loading. So if I'm on an accident scene, it takes a long time for these helicopters to start up and to stop. We just leave it running, and we'll get out, we'll go to our patient, we'll treat our patient. The nurse generally, they get in the back before the patient does, and it's the paramedic's job to get them loaded in that somehow. So once he spins, I'll show you. There are hatch doors back here, and that is the exhaust, the hot exhaust. So I'm tucked right under here, and these doors open up and I load.
You're the first to die.
Yeah, kind of. No, not usually me. I think I would be like second or third. The people help me load in might do it. How about an office view? That goes sideways? Why'd that go sideways? All right, let's all turn our heads this way. Yeah, this works. So I'm about ready to show you what IFR looks like. I'm looking out the window. Wow, I can't believe it did that. I'm really interested now. This is IFR conditions. I'm all in the clouds. I can't see anything. It's just white all the way around. Some pretty killer views during the daytime. That is right above Burlington, right here. There's Highway 34.
Oh, that's neat.
Hawkeye game's really great to watch from a helicopter, I tell you what. I couldn't tell what's going on, but it's super cool to be able to fly over that. Some of the best views ever when the sun's,
Aircraft that can.
huh?
You're one of the only.
That's,
aircraft
he
that
has a good point, that's right. There, it's called, I think it's called RTF. And when there's Hawkeye games going on, there used to be all the time, there would be doctors and private pilots with their planes and be like, oh, I'm gonna go watch the Hawkeye game. So they had to put restrictions on it. There are restrictions applied when the games are going on in this radius around here. They can't be near it by, I wanna say like 5 miles or so. So conveniently, not so conveniently, right there is our helipad that we land on, one of them. There's the other one right there. So it's within that distance. So we have to ask for clearance, but we always get it going in there, and then we have to go out of it. So naturally, there's always something, wink, wink, there's always something over here, so we gotta loop around this way. You bend the rules a little. Best views ever for when the sun's setting or the sun's coming up. This is kind of it's an alright photo, but it's the one I had. I usually don't take photos. I just enjoy the view myself. This is Peoria, Illinois in the middle of the night. I went to Chicago one time with it. That was way better. It was so good, I didn't even think about bringing my phone out. I just wanted to soak the view in. Or, you could even buzz over your own house if you want to. That's my mother's house. I couldn't find mine, but she is right by the airport, so I always buzz over it and mess with her, be like, hey, your tire looks low or something like that. And she's like, I'm really tired of you doing that. I'm gonna be brutally honest at a couple points here. And I don't mean this to be, it's not me being mean or anything like that. I'm just telling you the truth. This is something you want to do. This is a career path you want to go down. You got to be a good team player, right? Mia and I are on the ambulance today, right? And Mia's not feeling well. But Mia said, I can make it into work. I can do this. I can be of some help. As a team player, I need to understand that Mia's not at her best today, and that I need to step it up. That's what we all do at the fire department. Hard worker, right? Don't stop just because you reach the bare minimum. Keep going. You'll appreciate it. And I think that's in anything in life. That's not if you're going to be a firefighter, if you're going to be a nurse, if you're going to be a teacher. You got to be a hard worker. Respectful, that's common sense, right? You got to treat everybody with respect. I don't know what's going on in I'm going to pick on someone else. What's your name, sir? Lucas? I don't know what's going on with in Lucas's life. So I'm not going to come up and be mean to Lucas, right? Caring, it's kind of a given thing. Selfless. If you can't go to somebody's worst day of their entire life as an EMS provider, and it may seem, Lucas may have dropped a brick on his foot.
May have broken my arm while skateboarding.
Okay, well, let's do the brick on the foot. It's very minor in comparison. Lucas dropped a brick on his foot, and I may just be tired. I might be not feeling under the weather myself. I can't go in there and be like, well, this is dumb. Why didn't you just get in your car and go drive yourself to the hospital? You can't do that. You have to be empathetic. You have to feel for your patients. So, and you can't make it about you. If it's something nasty, okay, he broke his arm while skateboarding and landed in a muddy ravine. Ugh, I don't want to get mud on me. Ugh. If you can't set apart what you don't want to do for that person, this is the brutally honest part, this isn't for you. And that's okay. But if you're going to do this, you will have to do things that aren't the most desirable. But at the end of the day, you have to understand that brick on the foot may not have been, in my mind, the worst thing ever to happen, but we don't know. That might be Lucas's worst day he's had so far. And I think it is a huge blessing that I have been given the opportunity to come into someone's worst day and fix it or make it better. That is awesome. I have a notebook at work actually, and for amazing stories like that, I fill it out. Guys, it's one of those college books where it's got the 3 sections. I'm almost done with the first section. just with cool, interesting stories that I get to experience throughout all of my careers.
I got reports I have printed out.
Yeah. You get to see things and do things that the general public will never get to do. And it's so awesome. So I'm going to talk about the cons of EMS. And I'm not going to lie. In my mind, it's still one of the best jobs in the world, but it does have some cons. The longer shifts, EMS workers work 12 to 24 hours, although it can be a pro. Like I said, this schedule here, the one that I erased, 15 5-day vacations, folks. That's awesome. 2 days off in the summertime. You can take huge trips with you have kids your guys' age at some point, right? You can take the amount of time off that I did to go on a vacation. You can have a summer break off with your kids. EMS is open 24/7, 365. So that means you'll have to work holidays. I got so fortunate, thank you leap year, that when I switched to third shift, out of 4 Christmases, I have to work 2 instead of the 1 every 4, which, whatever. I get it. Again, I have a second family that I love. I love everybody on my shift. I would do anything up including dying for those people on my shift. So, I get to spend time with that family. You will miss some family events due to having to work. Some, not all. Mia, right? Mia's got a ball game, and she's like, and say Mia's dad works with me on an ambulance. And Mia's dad's like, hey, Mia's got a ball game at VHS at 7. It's right by our territory. Would you be opposed to going to it? No, absolutely not. We can still make exceptions to get to certain events, right? Now, obviously, if she's, I don't know who VHS plays. Give me someone out of town. Fort Madison, cool, thank you. Or she's playing in Fort Madison. Okay, I'm gonna have to miss that one. But the in-town stuff, more than likely we can make. You will go to scenes that will test your mental strength at times, mental and physical, quite honestly. But the great thing about that is you have that whole team to fall back on if you go to something pretty intense. Honestly, I've been to gunshot wound victims. I've been to scenes where people have passed away from that stuff, or children that have passed away. That is one of the hardest things in the world, is to go to a mother and a father and say, hey, I'm really sorry, but your son has passed away. That's the hardest thing you'll ever have to do. But then you have to turn to that family, and you have to be there for their worst day too. So that tests it even harder. Now, let's get to the pros of EMS. I personally think that the pros outweigh the cons by a long shot, and here's why. You get to fix someone's worst day. You get to work those long shifts, which equals out to longer time off. Your benefits, they're the best out there. Mr. Carper can talk about it and agree with me. Yep. There is like 401ks, there's other pension systems, but the pension system that him and I are both in, and are you pulling from it yet?
Yes, I am. I went out on a medical.
You lucky dog.
Yeah, so 60% of mine is completely
Yeah.
tax-free.
I'm gonna break it down. If I work 30 years, they take, and we're just gonna do simple math, right? My 3 highest paying years out of whenever I retire, so let's say I do 100K 3 times, and you average out your 3 highest paying years. So what's the average of 300,000? It'll be 100,000, right? That's what it comes out to. If I do 30 years of service, I make 80% of the average of my 3 highest paying years. So what is 80% out of 100,000? 80,000. So if I retire and say I make that number, which I don't know, I'd have to be a chief to do that. I would pull $80,000 a year just to sit on my butt and be retired. But truth be told, a lot of us in that are first responders don't like to sit around. Mr. Carper got a second job here. Another fireman, he drives a bus for you guys. You may see him, Wayne Kroll. You know, the guy does construction now. So, that's great retirement. Our health insurance, it's
How much do you make a year?
I'll get to that.
The other thing about that also, you'll have more deductions that aren't taken out because of all your other stuff in your check, so you end up making more
Yep.
than when you were working.
Yeah. You also can, are you talking like the,
You don't put it into your retirement anymore, you don't have all that other stuff that comes
Yeah.
out, so you end up making like, I'm making like $300-400 more a month.
cool thing about it too, she said, how much money do you make? I'm gonna kind of comment on that, but then I'll give you more of the wages at the end. I get paid, I think, so well, and I manage my money so well, that I take even more money out, and I put in a 457 or a Roth IRA, which is two other retirement options, like little retirement options. So I've got 3 plans going right now. I'm gonna make out like a bandit when I go to retire. The goal for me is to buy a house on the East Coast. That's what I'm setting myself up for. Health insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, one of the best plans out there. Dental insurance, good vision plans. But wait, there's more. There's opportunities for advancement. You can go become a lieutenant on the fire department. Am I running close?
You got about 4 minutes.
4 minutes. All right, I'm gonna have to pick it up then. There's jobs all over the country. Every day is different. This opens doors for great opportunities. Working as I do now at the fire department. I wouldn't be at MedForce. I wouldn't be teaching at a college. I wouldn't be here talking to you guys if I didn't work for the fire department. Depending on where you're at in the country, they say the average is $40,000 to $70,000 a year. It's depending on years of experience and certification. I can tell you, starting out, you make, after your first year at the fire department, you make $54,000 a year, and then once you get your paramedic certification, then that bumps you up another $4,500, so you're at roughly $58,000, $59,000 a year. There's always room and opportunities for overtime. If I pick up an overtime shift, a 24-hour overtime shift, then it's like $800 or $900 you get right there for one shift. So if you pick 10, we'll go 12 shifts up, it's another 10 grand in your pocket. That's in addition, you get the amazing benefits too, which if Carver can agree, those benefits are worth so much more than what you're making in good money already. You go to another job where you have to pay for your benefits, you're shelling out a lot of money for that. You're not here. I started at the age of 22. With 30 years, I can retire at 52. I hate to pick on you, but ma'am, what do you do here at the high school?
I work as an associate. I started as a registered nurse.
Okay, awesome. A lot of nurses, what age do you see them working to usually before retirement? 60s?
65.
65. I'm gonna beat that nurse to retire by 13 years. That's pretty good if you ask me. It's hard work, and I'm not discrediting the nurse. The nurses work really hard too, especially during this whole pandemic. In healthcare, we all busted our butts. So.
Good morning, Greyhounds. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Give a second.
Yep.
Once they get through
I
this.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, feel
We
free to
would
go
like to wish
through
a
the
happy birthday to Dragon Soul,
All right.
Phoebe Johnson, and Tyra
Real quick, I want to
Gilroy.
talk about how I got to where I'm at today. This is for the
Today's
Associates of Applied
Burn
Science
Club
within
and Events
Paramedicine
Fair.
degree at Southeastern
The
Community
student
College.
council will be
You
hosting
take
a
all of
secret
these
quiz
classes,
after the
each of these
basketball
classes
games
is one
tonight.
semester.
Any high
You can
school
complete
student
this as a
pays
question
$5.
within 2
Come and show your
years.
school support and have a great time with your friends. Proceeds will
If
go
you
to
do
a
everything,
great
you can get it
cause.
done in 2 years.
Minority
If
Scholars
you
is having
choose
a
to
winter
take
clothing and
advantage of
canned
this
goods drive
option
for Burlington area
in high
homeless
school,
shelter and
you can
transition
take
from
these
December
college
11th
classes while you're
through
here.
the 21st.
You can take your
Bring
EMT
coats,
while you're
other
still
winter
in high
items, and
school
canned
and be
foods
in
to
test at
make
the age of
chemistry.
17, and when you
The
turn
ACT
18
test day
and
is
he does
February
the
10th,
test right,
2024.
here you go, Mia,
And
you're
sign up is
18.
by January 5th.
Here's your EMT
Seniors, if your college
certification.
requires
Get out
it,
there and help
it is
people.
best to take the ACT
You can
by
do this
this
while you're
week.
in school and
If
speed
you
it up
receive free
so
or
much.
reduced school fees, please see the counseling office.
There's one
for
last thing I
more
want to finish
You
with.
can register online
And I think
at
it's an awesome quote. And
www.actstudent.org.
it's very true in anything in life.
There will be a trap shooting meeting in
Do the work that
2024.
others aren't
Season
willing to
registration
do,
on December
and then
19th
you'll
at
get the
6
things
p.m.
that
in the
others
library.
will never
Those planning on
have.
participating should
If you
attend.
don't put the hard
Have a
work
great day,
in,
Greyhounds.
you'll never get to see the great things that life has to offer. If you just choose to sit around, you're not going to get much. the harder you work at it, the better life will be. That's how I did it. I never stopped with my certifications. I love where I'm at now. I never regret it. And I'm still learning, I'm still growing. Anybody got any questions? I know I zipped through that last part, and I'm really sorry. Yes, sir.
How old?
How old am I? 28.
You look like you're in your 40s.
Oh, wow,
Thank
that's
you.
so nice.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That's all right. It doesn't bother me at a younger age. When I get older, I might take offense, but. Well, I really want to thank y'all for letting me come and talk to you guys. I think this is awesome that you guys have this class available. And if any of you have any other questions or are interested in this career field, I would love to help you in any way I can so you can get to where you want to be. If that's as a firefighter or if that's as an EMS provider, if I can help you, I'll do that. I'm willing to invest everything I got into you if you will invest in yourself. So get a hold of Mr. Carper if that's something you want to do or you have any more questions. He's got my email and you guys can email me.
Guys, let's give it up for him.